The rain came down in sheets that night, turning the city streets into rivers of neon reflections. Sarah clutched her threadbare coat tighter, her fingers numb despite being buried in her pockets. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, and the gnawing emptiness in her stomach had become a familiar companion. 23 years old, college-educated, and completely invisible. That's what homelessness had taught her. People looked through her now, not at her. She was a ghost haunting the doorways of the very buildings where she once dreamed of working. She'd lost everything 6 months ago. First her mother to cancer, then her apartment when she couldn't pay rent while covering medical bills, then her job when she had no address to list on forms. The descent had been swift and merciless. Now, standing outside the gleaming headquarters of Chen Industries in downtown Chicago, watching wealthy executives hurry past with their designer, umbrellas and leather briefcases, Sarah wondered if this was all her life would ever be. Watching other people live while she merely survived. She didn't notice the black Mercedes pulling up to the curb. She didn't see the man in the impeccably tailored suit step out, his dark eyes scanning the street with unusual intensity. But she definitely heard his voice when he spoke, firm and commanding despite its quiet tone. "Get in the car!" Sarah's head snapped up. The man standing before her was young for someone who carried himself with such authority, maybe 35 at most. His face was expressionless, almost severe, but there was something in his eyes she couldn't quite read. Behind him, the Mercedes idled, its interior warm and inviting through the rain-streaked windows. "Excuse me?" Sarah's voice cracked from disuse and suspicion. She'd been on the streets long enough to know that kindness usually came with a price tag. "Get in the car," he repeated, his tone unchanged. "Please." The please sounded almost mechanical, as if he wasn't accustomed to using the word. Sarah took a step back, her survival instincts screaming at her. "I'm not interested in whatever you're offering." For the first time, something flickered across the man's face. Was it frustration? Concern? "You don't understand. You need to get in the car, now." "Look, I don't know what kind of game this is." "It's not a game." He glanced over his shoulder and Sarah followed his gaze. At first she saw nothing unusual. Then she noticed it. A white van parked half a block away, engine running, side door slightly open. 2 figures sat inside and they were watching her. The man stepped closer, his voice dropping to an urgent whisper. "Those men have been following you for 3 blocks. I've been tracking them for 2. Whatever they're planning, it's not good. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Get in the car." Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. She looked at the van again, really looked, and saw that he was right. One of the men was holding something, rope, maybe, or zip ties. Her blood ran cold. She made her decision in a split second, diving into the Mercedes. The man slid in beside her and the car was moving before he even closed his door. Through the rear window, Sarah saw the van's door fly open, saw the 2 men jump out and start running, but they were already too far behind. "Who are you?" Sarah's voice shook, adrenaline flooding her system. "My name is James Chen," he said simply, his eyes still fixed on the road behind them. "I own the building you were standing in front of." Sarah's mind reeled. James Chen. She knew that name. Everyone in Chicago did. The silent CEO, they called him in the business magazines. At 34, he'd built a tech empire worth billions. But unlike most young moguls, he never gave interviews, never appeared at galas, never courted publicity. He was a ghost in his own success story. "Why were you watching me?" she asked. "I wasn't. Not at first." His driver took them through a maze of side streets, clearly following instructions to lose any potential tail. "I work late most nights. I've noticed you outside the building for the past 3 weeks. Always in the same spot, always alone. Tonight I was leaving when I saw that van. I've been volunteering with an anti-trafficking task force for 2 years. I know what hunting looks like." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Trafficking. Those men had been planning to take her, to turn her into a commodity, to erase whatever remained of her identity. Her hands began to shake uncontrollably. James noticed. Without a word, he shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It was warm from his body, heat, and smelled faintly of cedar and something else, safety. "Where are you taking me?" Sarah asked. "Somewhere safe. Then we're calling the police." He paused, finally turning to look at her directly. "When was the last time you ate?" The question, asked so matter-of-factly, broke something inside her. Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks before she could stop them. 2 days, she whispered. "Maybe 3. I lose track." James pulled out his phone and made a call. "Marcus, we're going to Safe Harbor House instead." "Yes, I know it's out of the way. Just do it." He hung up and turned back to Sarah. "Safe Harbor is a shelter I fund. Clean, safe, and they ask no questions. They'll give you a room, food, and medical attention if you need it. But first," he pulled a protein bar from his briefcase and handed it to her. "Eat this slowly. I know you're hungry, but your stomach needs time to adjust." Sarah stared at the protein bar like it was made of gold. "Why are you doing this?" For the first time since she'd met him, James Chen's expression softened. The rigid mask of the CEO fell away, revealing something raw underneath. "Because 12 years ago, my sister disappeared from a street corner not far from here. She was homeless, struggling with addiction, and I was too busy building my company to notice she'd stopped answering my calls. By the time I started looking, she'd been gone for 2 weeks. Did you find her?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer from the pain in his eyes. 6 months later, she'd been trafficked, moved through 3 states, and by the time the FBI recovered her, she was different, broken. His jaw clenched. "She's safe now, living in a facility that can provide the care she needs. But I was too late to save her from the worst of it. I swore I'd never be too late again." The car pulled up to a modest but well-maintained building. Warm light glowed from the windows, and Sarah could see people moving inside, staff, she realized, ready to help. James walked her to the door himself, speaking quietly with the night manager, a kind-faced woman named Patricia who greeted Sarah with genuine warmth. "We'll get you settled," Patricia said. "Shower, hot meal, clean clothes. Tomorrow we'll talk about next steps. Job training, housing assistance, whatever you need." Sarah turned to James, who was already heading back toward the door. "Wait," she called out. "I don't understand. You don't even know me." He paused, his hand on the door handle. "I know enough. I know you're someone's daughter. Maybe someone's sister. I know you deserved better than what life gave you. And I know that if more people stopped to see the invisible ones, the ghosts haunting our doorways, maybe fewer of them would vanish altogether." "How do I repay you?" Sarah asked. "You don't." James's voice was firm. "You survive. You heal, you rebuild. And someday, when you see someone else standing in the rain, invisible and alone, you remember what it felt like. That's the only payment I need." 3 years later, Sarah stood in front of that same Chen Industries building. But this time, she was walking through the front doors. She had her degree, her certification in social work, and a job offer letter signed by James Chen himself. He'd kept tabs on her progress. Patricia had confided, scholarships that appeared mysteriously, references that opened doors, opportunities that seemed almost too convenient to be coincidental. Sarah now ran Safe Harbor House, had expanded it to 3 locations, and had personally helped over 200 people transition off the streets. She'd never forgotten what invisibility felt like, and she made sure no one who walked through her doors would feel that way again. And sometimes, late at night, she'd see a black Mercedes drive slowly past Safe Harbor House. It never stopped, never announced itself. But Sarah knew who was inside, still watching, still hunting for those who might otherwise disappear. The silent CEO who spoke volumes with his actions. The millionaire who understood that true wealth couldn't be measured in dollars. The man who taught her that one moment of courage, one decision to see the invisible, could change everything.